Okay, now you know what you want to create, but you need to figure out if you can actually make any money from it, right? Hi, I'm Amy, and on this channel we're exploring how your creative gift has value. So if you're an artist or a maker, I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, comment, anything you can to help us build a community of people who can help each other. Okay, so I hope lessons 1 and 2 helped you figure out an idea or two for what you'd like to make. And in this lesson, by the end of it, you'll have a strategy for testing one or more possible options of things that you want to sell and seeing if they could be profitable for you. Let's start by defining wholesale and retail pricing. Historically, wholesale was what the manufacturer charged to sell his products to a store owner or a retailer. Then the retailer would mark the price up to cover his costs and to make a profit, and that was the retail price. Often the retail price was double the wholesale price, and so we have a term for that called keystone, which is just doubling the wholesale price to create the retail price. That's very common. The model of how goods and services make it to the end customer has changed dramatically in recent years, but these terms are still useful, even if their definitions are more loose than they used to be. You may be thinking, hey, I sell directly to the final customer. I find them over the internet, so I'm never going to be wholesaling my product, and so I don't need a wholesale price. But I want to strongly encourage you from the beginning to design in a price that has a range from high to low. That's going to give you the most options in the future and the best chance of making money. I'm going to present 4 different formulas for pricing whatever it is that you want to sell. And analyzing your product through these different formulas can help give you an idea of which one might be the best to sell or the most profitable, or whether any of your ideas could be profitable at all. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look at strategy number 1. Number 1, we're going to call comps. Just like in real estate, you can look around at what comparable products are selling for, something kind of similar to what you do. What is the market price and what are people paying for that thing? Do some research and see what something like your product is selling for. That's the comparable price. Okay, strategy number 2, materials times 2 plus your hourly wage. Now, this strategy works best for things that primarily involve your own labor, like a painting or a work of fine art you're doing, or a mural painting service. The majority of the cost is going to be your own labor. So what you're doing here is you're making sure that your cost of your materials is going to be covered. That's why you double or sometimes even triple it. And then you set your own hourly wage for how long it takes you to make it. And I want to encourage you here to set a living wage for yourself from the beginning, because otherwise this thing is never going to pan out into something that can actually support you. So try to calculate it with a wage that you can live at. Even if you're starting small, eventually that price structure is going to be important for you. Pricing strategy number 3. Your cost to make it times 2 equals the wholesale price. This strategy was taught to me by my first mentor, who was an apparel manufacturer. In her case, she would buy bolts of fabric wholesale, then she would take them to a cutter and have them cut, and then she would take them to the sewing warehouse and have them sewed. And so she was doing a whole lot of work and paying people in a lot of different places, and the way she calculated her price was putting together all those costs, doubling it to get the wholesale price. In my case, when I ended up manufacturing picture frames later, I was paying people who were doing the painting and the screen printing. I was also paying to have the wood cut at one place and have paint bought from another place. And so all those costs put together would be my costs. Then I would double that to get to the wholesale price. So this formula works better if you are doing something where it's a lot of other people's labor involved, or you're having something made and you have a lot of materials and different things in the mix, and not just mostly your labor. Then our 4th strategy is to ask yourself, what is the lowest possible price I could sell this object or item for and still make a little bit of a profit? And then ask yourself, what is the highest possible price I can imagine under the best circumstances where I could get the best possible clientele that they would pay for it and be willing and able to pay for this object? Now in that case, you set a range there, and your lowest answer is your wholesale price and your highest answer is your retail price. So we're really talking more like a range within which you can sell this and still make a profit. So I strongly encourage you to run your product ideas through all 4 of these strategies separately. And that will help you see if you come up with a range that's kind of similar from these different methods. That will be a good indication to you that your product idea is viable, that your price point is one that makes sense and would probably work in the market. Now, if you come up way off, if you are calculating, say, number 2 strategy, and the price it would cost you to make a profit is like twice as much as what you see it selling for in the marketplace, okay, then you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and do some thinking. You're either gonna have to figure out, what is it about my product that's gonna make it so superior that people are going to be willing to pay more than the comparable things out there? Or what is it that I can do to lower my costs so that I can then sell it for a lower price? So this is gonna help indicate if you're on the right track or not. So your homework for this week is to run your product or service idea or ideas through these 4 pricing models and see what you come up with. Hopefully you'll establish a range for where your pricing needs to be, the low end being the wholesale price, the high end being the retail price. And then what I want to encourage you to do, this is hard sometimes, but try to be selling your product at the retail price. Even if you're the one selling directly to the public on Etsy or someplace else, set it at the retail price, because you want to leave some options for yourself in the future. What if a really cool store or chain of stores wants to start carrying your product? You need to have a price you can sell to them for, so that they can raise your price to retail and they can make a profit, and you can still make a profit at the wholesale price. So think about that in advance. That's going to set you up for success. I wish you the best with this pricing structure. I hope you can get out there and start selling. Please leave your comments below, any ideas or any questions you have, any ideas for future topics, and join me next week where we'll continue to discuss how your creative gift has value.